Resume and cover letter tips. So we're going to first talk about the resume. So today's agenda, we're going to define the purpose of a resume, go over resume best practices, review common resume categories, answer the question, why target your resume? And we're going to talk about cover letter basics. So the purpose of a resume. The purpose is to show that you have the skills to do the job. It also helps you prepare in answering interview questions. And one thing that a lot of people misunderstand is that the resume gets you the interview. It doesn't get you the job, it gets you the interview. It's the first step in the whole job search process. So where to begin? A lot of people become a bit stymied over where to begin. So first, we suggest that you make a list of all your competencies. And it doesn't have to be in any particular order. We just want you to make a list of everything. And you want to look at various examples. You want to look at examples of other people's resumes, look at the format, look at the content, and so forth. And then you also want to review job descriptions because you want to tailor your resume to a job description. So it also might help to jog your memory. If you look at a resume, if you look at a job description, it might tweak a memory of something that you did. It might jog your memory. You might say, oh yeah, I did that in the past, and you can add that to your list. So I want to talk about just some basic best practices as far as formatting goes. So you want to limit your resume to 1 page if possible. Now you can go to 2 if you have a lot of experience, but we suggest that you limit it to 1. Font sizes should be 11 to 12 are preferable. You can go down to 10, but that gets very small. So no smaller than 10. Margin should roughly be 1 inch all around. You can go to 0.5 if you really need to, but 1 inch it gives a nice appearance. Now we talk about the fonts. There are a couple different kinds of fonts. So we use sans serif fonts when we're dealing with electronic media. So the reason for that is that it's easier on the eyes when looking on a screen. So some examples of sans serif are Arial, Calibri, and Helvetica. Now you have another option, and that's for the printed page, and that would be what's known as serif fonts. And some common ones are Times New Roman and Cambria, although I do feel that Times New Roman is a bit dated. So just keep that in mind, that the typical font is a sans serif font in today's current job search world. So we're going to talk about a chronological resume format. There's several different types of formats. The chronological format is what's most preferred by recruiters. And what that is it shows your work experience in reverse chronological order, meaning you're putting your most present experience first. Again, there's an example of margin should be 0.5 to 1 inch and limited to 1 page. Okay, do not include references. A lot of people put references available upon request at the bottom. You don't need to do that. Don't include your street address. We want to protect your anonymity to some degree. You don't know who's going to be viewing your resume. Headshot, you don't need to put a headshot in America. In the US, we don't include headshots. Internationally, some countries do. Here we don't. You don't need to add the company address. You don't need to include your grade point average if it's below 3.0. And you don't need to add personal pronouns. When you're writing a resume, you don't need to write in I statements or in the third person. Okay. Most importantly, don't forget to proofread. I can't tell you how many times people forget to proofread and they put misspelled words. That will get your resume dismissed immediately. Your resume needs to be perfect when you're ready to submit it. It also helps to have a friend read it. And another tip that I use is I will highlight the resume and have the computer read it back to me. So some Mac has a speaking option, as do PCs. So highlight it, have the computer read it back to you, and follow the computer word by word by word as it's reading it back to you. Because a lot of times you might use a word that's not misspelled per se, but it might be the wrong word. Okay, we're going to talk about targeting the resume. So what does that mean? So targeting the resume means that you will need to adapt your resume to the job description. So that means you'll need to have multiple versions of your resume. The way we target it is that we look at the job description. If the employer is asking for A, B, and C, we want to make sure that in our resume, we include A, B, and C. And the reason for that, two reasons. One is you want to show your employer that you have the skills to do the job. Secondly, there are things known as applicant tracking systems, ATS. They are computer systems that scan your resume. They scan multiple resumes for keywords. If your resume is missing those keywords, it won't move you forward in the process. Now, large companies use applicant tracking systems because they have thousands of people submitting applications to them. And so they don't have time to review thousands of applications. So they have the computer do it for them. So when you're looking at the qualifications, here's an example of a job description. So the minimum qualification, currently enrolled as an undergrad or graduate student. So they want to make sure that you're a student. Interest and background in research, health policy or healthcare knowledge, familiarity with publication databases, critical analysis skills, excellent writing and communication skills, familiarity with Adobe Illustrator and/or Publisher, and attention to detail. So those are all aspects that you want to put into your resume. Okay, resume categories. So resumes are typically structured with certain key areas. So you'll have your contact information, you'll have a profile summary, you'll show your education section, you'll show your experience, activities in leadership, and skills. And we're going to go over each of those. So we're going to talk about the career profile. Now, the career profile is at the top of the page, and this is like the inside cover of a book. So when you pick up the book off the shelf, you look at the inside cover, and what does it tell you? It tells you a synopsis of that book. So you read the quick synopsis of the book and you decide, okay, I like this, I'm going to buy the book. That's what the career profile does. It's a high-level view of who you are professionally. It gives context and lays the groundwork for what follows in your resume. And you want to make sure that you use impactful statements here. Because we have a resume and it's one page, we don't write in complete sentences because we're reserving space. So this career profile should consist of anywhere from 1 to 4 lines. So you see this example, highly creative and resourceful UX UA designer with expertise in assessing end user feedback and implementing information to user-friendly web designs. Experience includes storyboarding, designing and developing frameworks, running test scripts, and improving on original designs. Exceptional interpersonal and collaborative skills. So this is for somebody who has some knowledge and experience. So here's some examples. Self-driven anthropology student with ability to effectively multitask and problem solve. Reliable and dedicated team player, resourceful and always willing to contribute to the success of the group. Proficient in Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. Fluent in Spanish and English. Now the career profile can have another name as well. It can have professional summary. So some of these sections, you can tweak the titles of them a little bit. So in this example, we use professional summary. And that was the previous one I just read about, the highly creative UX UA designer. Okay. We're going to go to the next section. This is the experience section. So this is where you talk about your past experience if you have it. And we'll talk about if you don't have experience as well. So this is where you put your job details. You're going to put the position title and the company and the city and the state of that company. And then you're also going to put the dates that you worked. You're going to put your experience in bullet points, and you're going to quantify that experience if you can. It's really important that when you put the bullet points that you be specific. Okay, so and a way to be specific is to use the STAR method for these bullet points. So there's a certain structure around that. You can start with the situation or the task, then tell me how you did it, and then what were the results of that task. So a lot of times people have a very difficult time articulating the results. It's like, I don't know why I did it. I was just told to do it. Well, when that happens, it's a good idea to use a format that we call SAM. Okay, so that stands for something that you saved, either time or money. Did your task result in something that you achieved? Maybe you achieved the goal. Maybe you got an honor. Maybe you got an award. Or maybe it was something that you made. So this gets very tricky. So I thought it would be a good idea to show some examples. So a lot of people are really good at listing their tasks. So it's good. This is good, right? Consolidated 20 existing reports into one easy to read report. Great, but that doesn't tell me that much detail. If we put the STAR method, we can say the task was consolidated 20 existing reports into one easy report. Okay, how did you do it? By utilizing structured query language, also known as SQL. That was the how you did it. Then what was the result? Saving directors and staff time in locating customer data. Okay, so we saved something there. That was the result. Here's another example. Organized apparel on design table. Okay, well, that's okay. It doesn't tell me much. Here's how we use the STAR method. Organized apparel on display table. That was the task. By folding and arranging clothing by color and size. That was the action that we took. What was the result? Enabling customers to easily find desired garments. That was a goal we achieved. That was the result. And one last one. Created brochures and flyers. So here's the STAR example. Created brochures and flyers. That was the task. How did we do it? By using Photoshop. That was the action. What was the result? Which resulted in the launch of 20,000 new advertising packets. That was something that we made. Okay, so it takes some time. A lot of people have difficulty with this. When you use the STAR method, it helps to put some structure around it. Key skills. Now, I know we're going through this very quickly. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or speak up. Key skills. So once we have listed our career profile and our experience, it's a fantastic idea to have a category called skills and abilities. This allows the reader to very quickly scan the resume and look for top skills that they're looking for. So we want to focus on hard skills. And hard skills are those that are tangible, provable, and are quantifiable. Okay, so some examples of that would be programming language, software that you've used, etc. Now you can also use soft skills, and you want to choose those that are mentioned in the job description. So earlier we saw something that said attention to detail. So that would be something that you would add. So examples of soft skills would be communication, attention to detail, reliable, time management, collaboration, resourceful, and so forth. Again, you first want to focus on the hard skills, and then you want to add some soft skills if they're mentioned in the job description. Some other skills to add are technologies that you might know. Microsoft Office, coding languages, Adobe Suite. If you're not familiar with Microsoft Office, I strongly suggest that you learn that because almost every job will ask you to use these. Google Suite is also used, but Microsoft Word, for instance, is pretty much the standard for word processing. If you're proficient in languages, please be sure to include the language and the level that you're at, if you're fluent or conversational or beginner level. And if you have any certifications, it's always great to include those as well. But you want to include the certifications that are relevant to the job. If you're applying to a tech job and you have a yoga certification, it's not really relevant to the job that you're applying to. Okay. So regarding activities and leadership. So if you don't have job experience, it's great to include volunteering. And you can put the various years that you volunteered, and or if you just volunteered for a few months, you can include that as well. So some examples you'll see are shown here where they were volunteering for services outside of the university. But if you've also done volunteering within the university, be sure to add those. There's also activities that you can add, and that could include athletics, association groups, clubs, and so forth. You want to show that you're active in the community and that you're also responsible, and that you can treat these volunteering opportunities as you would a working environment. So some final tips about the resume. You want to submit it as a PDF when you're finished. The reason for that is if you keep it in a Word document, the Word document can get jumbled. You have, with the PDF, your formatting stays the same. So, and a lot of employers ask that you submit through with a PDF. You don't want to use any common templates other than what VMOC will provide to you. The reason for that is a lot of computer systems have difficulty reading these different kinds of templates. So you want to avoid that. And some of the templates out there, they will have specific kind of graphics in them. And again, it's hard for some computer systems to read those. You want to make sure that you update your resume often. So the reason is that you need to tailor your resume to the specific job description. So it's a bummer, I know, and it takes time, but it will serve you in the long run when you make sure that your job description, your resume matches the job description. And most importantly, you want to include that, or I'm sorry, the most important info should be listed at the top 1/3 of your resume. And don't forget to proofread. Your resume needs to be absolutely perfect. Okay, I know we're going very quickly, but I do want to talk to you about the cover letter. Now, do you need a cover letter? Well, it all depends. If the job description, the instructions say to submit a cover letter, then submit a cover letter. If they ask you to submit a cover letter and you don't do it, they will dismiss you because you're not following directions, right? So that's a key thing that they're looking for. So when you write a cover letter, it's in a business letter format. It should be no more than 1 page. And it should be in the same sort of style as your resume, meaning having the consistent fonts. You want to make sure you have your name and your header at the top with your contact information. You also do not indent the paragraphs, and you want to customize each cover letter to that employer, to that job that you're applying to, and address it to that specific employer. So what a lot of people get wrong in their cover letters is that they start off right away talking about their qualifications. And that's not what we want to do. The very first paragraph should be addressed to the employer, and you should talk about why you love that organization. And I tell people, go onto the corporate website, look at their mission, look at the different products that they're making. What is it about that corporation that you really love? It might be an organization like Apple. You might really love their innovation. It might be an organization like Girl Scouts. You might really like their mission. So find something in that organization that you identify with and talk about why you love, love, love them and that why you want to work for them. And that should be in your first paragraph. Second paragraph is where you go into your qualifications and why you fit that job. In other words, why they should love you. So you want to highlight your relevant experience and education qualifications, and then give some examples of that. So this is the time when you can personalize and start bringing some personality to the job, right? So you have your resume, which tends to not be very personalized, doesn't show much personality. Your cover letter really is a time for you to talk about yourself. Mind you, it's one page, but you can really get an idea of the individual through reading that one page. The last paragraph is about let's connect. This is where we summarize your qualifications. You refer back to your resume, you express your appreciation, thank you for your time and consideration. You apply your contact information, tell them how they can contact you, and then you sign off. So this is an example of the first intro, right? So this is the part that everybody seems to have difficulty with. So this is for statistics type of role. So they went through, they put their name at the top, they put the organization, and try to personalize it. If you are writing to an individual, try to find the individual's name. So in this instance, it's Ms. Richards. If you don't know, you can say, dear hiring team, dear hiring manager, and something I would avoid to whom it may concern. So this is the intro. I'm excited to apply for the research intern position at Goodwin Simon Strategic Research that I found listed on Handshake. The GSSR's unique approach to using the latest social science and neuroaffective research is groundbreaking and exciting. Since being a small child, I have been interested in learning more about the connection between human emotions and how they affect the decisions we make. I am particularly drawn to your projects that involve researching and understanding underrepresented communities. Your idealism and vision for making the world a better place is inspiring, and it would be an honor to join your team. Great way to start off. So after that, that's when you go into paragraph 2 and start talking about your qualifications. Okay, so tips for success. Always personalize. If you can address it to a person, be sure to address it to a person. If somebody referred you, also mention that. So I found out about this job through so-and-so. That person could be somebody who works within the company or a local a connection that you have with the company. If you have that, be sure to mention that in the cover letter. Use keywords and phrases from the job description, and be sure to research the company. I once had a cover letter and they forgot to change the address, so it had a competitor's address in it. It's like, oh, big mistake. You don't want to do that. Okay, CSLD hours. So I just want to remind you that you can reach out to us. We have a website, we have email, we are on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms. We post jobs there sometimes, and we also post our events. You can also call our office if you have any questions. All right, I know we went through that very quickly. Do you have any questions for me? You can either put them in the chat or you can take yourself off mute.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said earlier in the slides that we should take off our references.
Yes, what they will do if they're interested in hiring you, the employer will ask you to submit references separately.
And that's usually on the job description if they want to hire you.
The job description will tell you what's required of that job. So you read the job description, you then apply to the job and submit your resume.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do they ask to see your degree or your transcripts if you're still in school?
It depends on the job. Sometimes they will, if they need your transcripts, they will say that. Sometimes I believe it was the city of San Francisco. I was looking at some jobs a while back and they were saying that they were going to need transcripts. A lot of employers don't ask for that though. So it just depends. It just depends on the job. But if they need your transcripts, they will ask for them and they will say that in the job description. Okay.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned we shouldn't be putting our address, but then should we put out our city or how? So like right now I have my name and under that I actually had my address, which I took it off, but then phone number and email and LinkedIn. Should I put something else?
So you could include your city and your state and your zip code, but don't put the street address.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that recruiters will often search for people within a certain city or within a certain zip code. So it's good to have that.
Okay. And the next question I have is that can we use color, colored font?
So I would suggest that you not use color font. I would suggest that you keep it black and white, with the one exception. If you're a graphic designer, then you need to have a graphic looking resume. You need an artistic looking resume.
Okay.
Okay.
So nothing, no, like right now what I have is just the like my name, education, experience, those things are colored. So
Yeah, I would change it to black and white.
Okay. Another question I have is should we be justifying the when we format our Word file, there's a option of like center line and line right? So the fourth option is justify. Should we justify the whole document?
So there's different formats that you can follow. So I prefer that things be left justified. Some people will center the header, like they'll say education and they'll center that. You can do that. There's no key format per se. It's important that it looks professional and that it looks readable. So if you log on to VMOC, for instance, it'll allow you to choose one of several different formats. So one is like left justified, one has the headers centered. Yeah, just make it look professional.
Okay. And for the cover letter, because the example that you showed, it wasn't justified. It was actually, I think, aligned left.
It was left aligned. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it should be.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So we got some questions.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So, are you going to send us like the slide of the presentation?
I will. I will be sending the slide deck of this presentation to you shortly.
Thank you.
Sometime this week.
Yeah, because I was taking notes. And
It's a lot. I know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I had a quick question.
Gotcha.
Was wondering if like how close do the resumes need to be tailored when we're trying to tailor them to the job description? Like how far do we have to go? Because sometimes we might have to change a lot of things.
Right. Well, you want them to match the job description as much as possible, because the whole idea is that you want to show that you have the skill set to do the job. Okay. And then the other thing is that you have applicant tracking systems as well that look for certain keywords. So you want to make sure that the applicant tracking system doesn't spit you out and not move you forward in the process. And yeah, it does take a lot of time to tailor the resume. Okay.
Okay, thanks. And is that what the VMOC is for?
VMOC is not for matching it to the job description,
Okay.
but it will help you construct the resume and will provide suggestions for improvement.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have another question.
Sure.
So the email address that we mentioned under under our name, does it have to be the university one, or can we use our own, or is there a preference to?
You can use your own. I suggest that people create a Gmail account specifically for job searching and make sure that the email is professional. You don't want something that has
Yeah.
slang like Skater Boy or something like that.
Yeah.
I would prefer to have your name so that for the reader to find it and use it could be easy for them.
Okay.
I have a question again. You said VMOC it's not like a resume builder. Do you have any like websites or apps that would do, or it's like free building?
Well, VMOC is a resume
Oh,
builder.
okay.
It will help you create a resume from scratch if you don't have one created.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you do have one already created, you can upload it and it will scan your resume. So Tatiana has a question. What if the certificate is not related to the job you're applying to? So if you have a certificate, say you have a yoga degree and you're applying for a nursing job, I wouldn't add that certificate. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. The keyword is relevant. So you want to include relevant information on your resume to show that you have the skills to do the job. You could have 2 emails on your resume. I wouldn't suggest that you have 2 emails on your resume. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. I think it's easier if you just create 1 email and use it for your resume and job search. Okay.
I had one more question, Sandra, if
Sure.
you don't mind.
No.
So basically, since I don't have relevant experience when I'm applying, I've included projects, and
Yeah.
as of right now, my projects, they're taking a good amount of space. So
Mhm.
I could possibly add like a volunteering type of thing, but it would go over a page. So
Okay.
maybe it's but my layout, it's pretty, my font is like 9 already, and like the way I've done it, it's
Ooh.
yeah, so I'm already like, I feel like I don't have much space. So should I just keep it how it is, or?
Right. I would try to stick to 1 page. And I love that you're putting your projects. So again, the keyword is relevant. So if you have no job experience, you do want to include the coursework that you're doing and the projects that you're doing. And I would start whittling it down, and the keyword is relevant. So if the volunteer experience that you're doing is not relevant to the job that you're applying to, then I would remove that, because you want to talk about the skills and the knowledge that you're learning in school that make you qualified for that job. Does
Okay,
make
that
sense?
perfectly answers my question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so I
welcome.
guess depending on like if there's something that like highly needs like leadership or something like that, then I can
Mhm.
probably just add it by taking out 1 project or something, and then
Right,
okay, I
right.
see. Yeah, just play
Exactly.
around
So
with it. Okay.
yeah, sometimes it feels like you're putting war and peace onto a postage stamp. It's like you have all this good stuff that you want to include in your resume. It just doesn't fit. So then you have to start being selective about what it is that you include in your resume. Incidentally, you could put those things on your LinkedIn profile because you're not limited. So, and I would strongly suggest that you do. So LinkedIn is just the opposite. You want to build up the LinkedIn, and you can take as much room and as much space as you can on LinkedIn. Okay,
Okay, thank you so much, Sandra.
you're welcome. And
Okay,
then
I have
Corey,
a question.
yes.
Okay, so you suggest that people don't like put their street address on their resume, but what if a recruiter specifically asks for your street address?
Well, so recruiters, that's a different situation. So at some point, if you're interviewing, then the recruiter will need your home address information if they're going to hire you. I would be very cautious about giving your street address out, though. So, because sometimes you'll have headhunters calling you, and they can not be They can be questionable. So you never want to give out things like your social security number. Never, ever do that. If a recruiter is calling you and is scheduling an appointment with you for an interview, they shouldn't be asking for your street address until they're getting ready to hire you and you're filling out the hiring paperwork. Okay, so has that happened to you in the past?
No, it's just hypothetical example.
Okay, yeah, really good question. Be mindful, be really, really mindful. And don't give out personal information unless they're getting to the point where they're ready to hire you and you're filling out the hiring paperwork. And as Corey mentioned, you can make appointments with us on Handshake if you want us to review your resume. Please do. You can book appointments with myself or Joseph or Ina or Victor if you need help with your resume.
Yeah, I also want just to add about the recruiters things. So
Mhm.
just like Sandra mentioned about, you don't want to give too much personal information out to recruiters or anything when employers are getting until you're physically getting hired. Like you've already spoken to HR, you're about to get hired, you accepted the job. Do not give any personal information out in regards to your full address and social security number, because again, sometimes it is specifically like scammers trying to get this information from you to then pretty much hack all your accounts and systems. And right now I'm actually putting in information out there about job scamming because it is happening, especially as we're nearing the holidays right now. You're going to get a lot of those emails coming out. So this is information specifically about like what to do if that does happen.
Yes, be mindful of scammers. So incidentally, I had a friend who had a headhunter call and they asked for her social security number. And they said, well, this is how we assign you an employee number in the system. Just say no. I don't care how they assign an employee number to you in the system. They need to find another way around it. It's not worth giving your social security number out for. So they get real tricky. So just please be mindful of that. And thank you, Joseph, for putting that information, or your bank information. Don't get you, the employer is not going to need your bank information, not until after they hire you. And then if they hire you, they will give you the option to do direct deposit or have a paper check. So, just please be mindful. There are a lot of sneaky people out there. Joseph also posted something in the chat about avoiding job scans. Please be mindful of that. Go through that. Check out that link.
And also, do you suggest like we make a different bank account just for the job, like for having like direct deposits to the bank?
Well, that would be up to you, So, but make sure that if you want to make sure that you are employed, that they have given you an offer letter, that you have signed it, that you submitted it, and that you are on board. Okay, fantastic questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Uh-huh.
As far as my EMT certificate, the emergency medical tech,
Yeah.
should I put that under skills or where would you suggest?
Yeah, what you can do is create a different header that says certifications.
Okay.
And then you can put the EMT and then the date that you acquired it.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, CPR certification. Yes, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, do you recommend for us to use like 2 different resumes, like some of them like the review that you said you have? Because I got a lot of certificates and I wanted to look for different kind of jobs.
I had a real hard time understanding you were breaking up. So you're asking if you should have 2 different resumes?
Yes.
Yeah, so with myself, I found that there was a couple of different directions at one point in my life. I thought I can go into the recruiting area, I can go into the career area, I can go into the training area. And I had different resumes created highlighting each of those different skill sets that I had. And of course, I would then take them and tailor them even further to the job description. But you can have multiple different types of resumes targeted for different types of jobs that you want to pursue, as long as you have the skill sets in those jobs.
Okay, and the second resume, you mentioned that don't put your address on the resume.
Yes, leave off your street address on the resumes, but put your city and your state and your zip.
Thank you. Thank you for that, because my resume shows my address.
Yeah, no, we want to protect your anonymity. We don't want people finding where you live because you don't know who's going to see that resume,
Right.
especially in the virtual world.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Out now, but if you need any further help, please feel free to go into Handshake and book some time with us. Okay, take care, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.